The deep state has been using the American taxpayer as a piggy bank to fund revolution and subversion all over the world. Combined with billionaires like George Soros, they have been attempting to hijack even Christian institutions for the sake of subverting sovereignty, subverting family, and so much more. The examples are almost endless. We first came across what was happening in Georgia way back in 2016, actually. In April of 2016, I wrote a major article for the New American called Soros Co-opting Churches to Push New World Order. And what I was focused on was a funding stream that was going to give trainings to pastors in the Orthodox Church of Georgia. Georgia, the little country near Turkey and Azerbaijan there, kind of at the crossroads between Europe and Asia. Now, we knew Soros had been bankrolling Occupy Wall Street and revolutionary movements around the world, especially all over Eastern Europe. And just terrible stuff that he was doing. We looked at some of those training programs, and by the way, it wasn't just Soros, right? They got EU taxpayers involved, they got USAID involved, and they were using this money to train pastors in the Orthodox Church about how they should love the European Union, the LGBT stuff, right? The women are oppressed, the feminism stuff, the globalism. And folks, George Soros only had to put in a little bit of money into this, and then taxpayers made up the rest. And so what they were hoping to do was subvert the Orthodox Church in Georgia, one of the most trusted institutions in that country, and use it to promote globalism and LGBTism and feminism and environmentalism and all the rest of it. Now, there were people from within the church who really didn't like this, and they spoke about it. In fact, later today in the program, we have a member of the Parliament of Georgia, the vice chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee, joining us to talk about this. But, folks, it was just crazy what was happening. And obviously, again, this isn't just limited to Georgia. If you look at just some of the things we've learned recently from Doge about what USAID has been doing, and many of these, of course, are projects supported by Soros and the Rockefellers and all these other billionaire dynasties. But I'll let the White House spokesman give a little bit of insight into what USAID was funding, including, by the way, quite a bit in Eastern Europe when it comes to anti-family extremism.
And here's the reason why Elon Musk and others have been taking a look. Because if you look at the waste and abuse that has run through USAID over the past several years, these are some of the insane priorities that organization has been spending money on. $1.5 million to advance DEI in Serbia's workplaces, $70,000 for a production of a DEI musical in Ireland, $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia, $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. I don't know about you, but as an American taxpayer, I don't want my dollars going towards this crap, and I know the American people don't either, and that's exactly what Elon Musk has been tasked by President Trump to do, to get the fraud, waste, and abuse out of our federal government.
Yeah, DEI programs in Serbia, right? What? And Serbia is also an Orthodox nation, by the way. I've spent some time there. It's a wonderful, beautiful place. Trans operas in Colombia, right? Notice how they're targeting these traditional and Christian societies for this revolutionary anti-family extremism. It's exactly the same as what they did in Georgia. Here's another list that Carolyn Leavitt, the White House press officer, shared recently at the White House. Listen to this.
And I would just say a strong message to Democrats who are out there pretending to be outraged about the long list of crap that this administration is cutting, federal waste and funding, like $2 million for sex changes in Guatemala, $6 million to fund tourism in Egypt, $20 million on a new Sesame Street show in Iraq, $4.5 million to combat disinformation in Kazakhstan. I could go on, and I'm happy to provide this list to every single one of you. Democrats are outraged that the American people want to be, they want their taxpayers going to good uses, not stuff like this. But then they're very quiet about the fact that there are still North Carolinians and people in California who have lost everything. And in the last 4 years, this federal government did nothing to help them. This president will continue to put Americans first. And I think the successes of this week so far speak to that. And it's only Wednesday.
Folks, how can it be that the U.S. taxpayer is being extorted to fund millions of dollars worth of sex changes in Guatemala, in Central America, right? Why do we need to produce woke Sesame Street garbage for people in Iraq? Why do we need $4.5 million to combat disinformation in Kazakhstan? And of course, we did an episode of this program just a few weeks ago interviewing our friend Peter Hammond, the great missionary in Africa, about some of the stuff USAID was funding there. Actual persecution of Christians, actual jihadist groups that were attacking Christians and churches. And J.D. Vance, the vice president, just recently talked about how some of our taxpayer dollars were going to NGOs that were actually working to undermine religious freedom. I'll let J.D. speak for himself.
How did America get to the point where we're sending hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars abroad to NGOs that are dedicated to spreading atheism all over the globe? That is not what leadership on protecting the rights of the faithful looks like. And it ends with this administration. And I'd add that part of our protecting religious freedom initiatives means recognizing in our foreign policy the difference between regimes that respect religious freedom and those that do not. The United States must be able to make that distinction. We must be able to look at the catastrophes like the plight of Iraq's Christians over the past 3 decades and possess the moral clarity to act when something has gone wrong.
Yeah, you would think this stuff is just a no-brainer, right? American taxpayers should not be forced to borrow money from communist China to fund attacks on Christianity, the promotion of atheism, transgender surgeries in foreign countries, efforts to hijack Christian institutions to promote globalism and wokeness and LGBTism and other anti-family propaganda. But folks, the connections between Soros and USAID are all over the place, right? One very interesting one, we've got U.S. government records showing that the East-West Management Institute, which is basically funded by Soros, the Open Societies Foundation, got more than $260 million in grants over the years from USAID to promote rule of law in Georgia, strengthen civil society in Uganda, advance Serbia's accession talks with the EU, so to bring more countries into this sovereignty-crushing regional government. Folks, what in the world is going on here, right? And then what happens then once USAID gives all this money to these front groups for George Soros and other evil billionaires is the evil billionaires go out, front groups go out and spread this money to revolutionary groups, to color revolutions, to all kinds of incredible projects. This was not an accident, folks. This was absolutely by design. And one of the reasons you hear so many people in Washington squealing like pigs about this stuff being exposed is that they know Americans would recoil in horror if they knew this stuff was going on. It is absolutely outrageous. But this is what the deep state has been doing for generations, folks. And don't even get me started on the close relationship between USAID and the CIA, right? In many cases, the USAID and their operatives were actually undercover CIA operatives, and they were using the cover of foreign aid to fund revolutionary groups and opposition propaganda media outlets to overthrow governments and to bring about color revolutions in these countries. So we have now an expose of this, right? We now know, we've got the documents proving, thanks to Doge, that the U.S. government, under multiple administrations, including some Republicans, by the way, this is not a partisan issue, taking our money or borrowing money in the names of our children and our grandchildren to radically reform and reshape the world. And not in a good way, right? How many Americans want their tax dollars funding mutilation of genitals for people overseas? How many of them want them funding DEI in Serbian workplaces? Right? This stuff is crazy. So we're going to focus today, in today's episode, on what happened in Georgia. This was particularly close to my heart because we're talking here about efforts to subvert Christian institutions. And it's just absolutely atrocious what has happened with this. And Americans need to know about it. So our 2016 article was a very good starting point. But and I would encourage you to check that out. You can find it at thenewamerican.com. It was called Soros Co-opting Churches to Push New World Order. And we have joining us today a very special guest. Her name is Mariam Lashkhi, and she is a member of the Georgian parliament. She's the deputy chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee there, and she's part of the governing conservative Georgian Dream Party. She's also a professor at the Business and Technology University of Georgia. Mariam, thank you very much for joining us today. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you. I want to start off talking about USAID. We're learning a lot about this through the news media about what they've been doing, but you guys have been kind of on the front lines of this. What has USAID been doing in the country of Georgia?
Thank you for having me, Alex. As a member of Georgian Parliament, as an Orthodox Christian, and as a mother of 2 sons, I'm privileged to be at your show and also the importance of the topics discussed. As of the USAID, I myself have been experiencing, first of all, I was part of one of the USAID project, which was doing a pretty positive and impactful works. On the other side, we have to see the main works which is done by the USAID and also the NGOs and civil society sector which has been financed by the USAID. And the main target usually is the most reputable institutions such as the Georgian Orthodox Church, usually, which is one of the most reputable institutions in Georgia. Georgian Orthodox Church stands as a cornerstone of national identity in Georgia, a nation where over 80% of citizens identify as members of this ancient Christian institution. Dating back to the 4th century, the church was and weathered numerous political storms while maintaining its central role in Georgian society. Through centuries, the external pressures such as Ottoman rule, Russian imperial control, and 7 decades of Soviet atheistic policies, the church preserved as a guardian of Georgian culture, language, and identity. After the independence in 1991, the church naturally resumed its influential position, becoming what polls consistently show as the most trusted institutions in Georgian society. Around 83% identify as Orthodox, and always this is with the polls that 75 to 90% it has like one of the most trusted institutions. So why I told this, because this always becomes as a main target of influencing and trying to reshape the Georgian society through attacking the church and the institution. Not only this, but also we have to say that this civil society, and can you imagine, in 3.7 million population Georgia, we have around 27,000 NGOs registered, which is the largest number per capita for it. So when looking at this, then you understand why these NGOs, and especially considering that 97% from these NGOs are financed by the foreign funding. So because of all this, then you understand why the targets is targeted the Georgian Christian Orthodox Church, and then this is done through the NGOs, especially systematic efforts by foreign foundations, including those which is connected to George Soros, to influence and position the national matters. The Georgian Orthodox Church has mainly, we have documented that around 1,700 out of Georgia's 2,000 Orthodox priests have been reached through the awareness and training programs funded by the Open Society Foundations as well as the USAID. Rather than engaging in an open public debate, this initiative specifically target parish priests who can amplify specific messaging through trusted local voices. So what's particularly concerning is the harsh and also coordinated rhetoric coming from these foreign-funded groups. For instance, we have one of the so-called woman founder of the NGO who has to be the one who is preserving the rights of the women, but they are having the same rhetoric and calling, for instance, our patriarchate, who has the most trusted reputation in Georgia, that they are linked to either Russian or they are the occupier of our society and so on. And when you compare it to other nations' rhetorics and civil society representatives, for instance, in Ukraine, our friend nation, you will find the similarities between the rhetorics of those NGO founders, which are usually being linked to USAID or to the Open Society funding the project. So the rhetoric, the wording usually is the same.
Yeah. It's fascinating, Mariam. I wrote an article about this in 2016 when for the New American Magazine. We saw some of this funding going through. It was coming from, like you said, the Open Society Foundations, and they were targeting Orthodox pastors, priests, and trying to convince them about the sovereignty and about the LGBT agenda and other things. And of course, they also got a lot of government funding lined up. Why are they doing this, Mariam? What is the interest in Georgia? What is the interest in the Orthodox Church? I mean, we know a lot of these people sending money are not Orthodox Christians. Why the interest in these Georgian institutions?
Why? The answer is very short, because on the one hand, why Georgian Orthodox Church? Because it is one of the most reputable institutions. And why Georgia? Because Georgia is at the crossroad connecting West to Europe. So it's not about only the Georgia as a 3.7 million population, but when you are having the right influence on our country, then you are controlling the whole Caucasus region, which is covering Armenia, Azerbaijan, but also we are in a neighborhood of Turkey. With the north, we always, and we're having the decades of having challenging relations with our north neighbor, which is Russia. We have been experiencing direct war, but also not only war, our 20% of our territories is being occupied. So Georgia is raising its positioning on the world because we are at the same time associated country and candidate country to European Union. And at the same time, we are peacemakers in our region. We are one of the peaceful negotiator between the relations of Armenia and Azerbaijan. Georgia is the place where the leaders are coming in Georgia and talking about the peace and ceasefire agreements. And on the other side, Georgia is having the strategic partnership with China and with the Central Asia as well. So around 1/3 of the world, Georgia is having a free trade agreement, which means that we have open market approach, and we have more or less, except of Russia, we have peaceful and good relations with our neighborhood. So because currently there is also a challenging period after especially Ukraine-Russia war, and after the occupation of Ukraine by Russia, the topics of peace and especially alternative ways of energy supply became one of the most important discussions in today's world. So Georgia is also running one of the major projects, which is undersea pipeline under the Black Sea, which will be bringing the alternative energy from east to west. So European Union will be supplied by the Central Asian energy. So Georgia is a facilitator in this process. So that's why on the trade, economic, but also politically influential position of Georgia, which was usually a front runner in democratic developments, Georgia is a very important country for big players to have in their hands, so to say. So therefore, this is the kind of a bit longer answer to why, but usually this is the, on the one hand, the benefit of Georgia of being the gateway between Europe and Asia, East and West, and on the other side, the front runner in developing the key democratic principles in the country, but also because of the long history, at the same time being the modern, but also inheriting the culture and the values, family values, which is preserved by, especially with this current government, with the ruling party. So we are trying to find the balancing position in that respect.
That's fascinating. And of course, we have a new president now in the United States, a very different approach to international affairs and global institutions and even foreign assistance, foreign involvement in other countries. What has been the difference so far over the Trump administration, and what is your governing party, what is the parliament in Georgia hoping to achieve in terms of U.S.-Georgian relations in the years ahead?
Well, we're very optimistic because on the one hand, we see the key messages of Trump's administration is on the one hand transparency, of these organizations. And the organizations such as USAID, it doesn't have to be the source of kind of challenging and damaging the relations between U.S. and other parts of the world, rather than opposite. So we were very straightforward. We introduced the similar law as a FARA, like Americans.
Foreign Agent Registration Act. Huh?
Absolutely. And this was the main principle was the transparency. So if everyone, it's like a world of playing the interest, right? Every country is having the interest. Every country is conducting their influence. We, Georgian as well, for non-recognition policy, we do also have our strategies with other countries, but that doesn't mean that we are playing this in the opposite of the interests of the country. And it doesn't mean that we do not have to be hiding something. If you're hiding something and if you're not showing. So for instance, like George Soros from 2003 has funded our NGOs more than $20 million US. So this is what we know, and there is way beyond what we do not know. So transparency, which is the key approach of Donald Trump's administration, is very much coinciding with our vision and the goal to move forward. The second is the trade and economic relations. So we do have, and I was part, when I was in an executive leadership, I was part of the U.S.-Georgia Strategic Partnership Charter, which has not been developed and hasn't moved forward during the Biden's administration. So we are saying that we're very pragmatic. We see some of the strategic partnerships which we are enjoying, for instance, with other countries, which means on the one hand direct flights, which means the strategic relations, including the intergovernment relations and having the high-level dialogues, which is based on the mutual trust and which is based on the mutual interest. So we are very much optimistic with the new administration. We are very open, and we have highlighted on every level that we are open for these partnerships. And let's see. Hopefully it will be leading in a positive way.
Fantastic. And before we let you go, we've only got a few minutes left in the program today, but I do have to ask you about Ukraine. I know, as you mentioned, Ukraine is a friendly country with you guys, very close to where you are, and you've been playing a role, the Georgian government has, in these negotiations. What do you hope to see out of this, and are you optimistic now in terms of changes we're seeing in U.S. policy about maybe a better resolution to the conflict there?
That was one of the major issues as well when Donald Trump was coming. One of his main campaign, so to say, promise was that he will be doing everything in order to end the war. And this is something which is in our core interest because if you look at the Georgia-U.S. relations after Ukraine-Russia war, a lot has damaged between our and U.S. relations. So therefore, this promise was a promise for Georgian population as well, not only for taxpayers of Americas, but also to the whole world, because the war not only damages the economic situation in every part of the world, but also this is the politically, I would say, the mistake which has been done, and we are still saying that this war could be avoided because Georgia has been experiencing the challenging relations with Russia. We have experienced war in 2008, but there was a very direct try that we had to jump into this process, and there was even a discussion on high-level discussions and meetings that we had to support Ukraine by opening the second front in our country. There was even like from high-level officials from Ukraine, they were saying that we have to just walk inside the Abkhazia, which is occupied region by Russia, that we have to walk in and kind of tease additional conflict. So that was not something which is on the one hand the interest of Georgian nation, and is not in the interest of the world itself, and is against of our peaceful solution of every conflict. So we are experiencing the same and we know what Ukrainian people are going through. We are very optimistic and hope that Trump will try his best to end the war, and hopefully by the end of this year we'll be having a different situation. But then we have to think about the next level. What if, hopefully, and we see that small countries like Georgia cannot defeat the imperialistic Russia, but there is additional way and instrument to solve this war. So whatever will be end of the story, there we have to think what we are doing next, and what will be the future of nations like us, neighbors, and what will be the future of the Europe itself. So therefore, we're very optimistic. We hope for the best. We again are saying that this war could be avoided because we know the relations, what and how is it, and we have been pushed by foreign influences, and as we say, the global war party or the deep state. What is the interests of others in this position? But we hope that Trump will end deep state, and Trump will end the war with the peaceful solution. Well, we're very good friends of Americans, and we are as a kind of a mother of two sons. Again, I have to say that as Americans and as Georgians, we do experience the same situation, and I want, and I and also American people want our children to inherit our nation that engages confidently with the world, with preserving all those values which is making each and every nation unique.
Amen. Absolutely. Mariam Lashkhi, Deputy Chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee in Parliament, thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you for what you're doing, and I hope we can talk to you again soon.
Good luck.
Thank you so much. Well, that's all we have time for today, folks. But I want to thank you so much for tuning in to Behind the Deep State, whether you're hearing us on the radio or on social media or on Rumble or through VCY. We appreciate it more than you know. Folks, this is a critical issue, right? And it's not just Georgia that is under attack by these deep state globalists. It's not just the Orthodox Church of Georgia that is being attacked by these deep state globalists. We have got to turn the tide. And it begins, of course, with each of us getting involved. So get over to thenewamerican.com, sign up for our updates, sign up for a subscription to the magazine, and also get involved in this fight. Thanks again for watching. I'm Alex Newman, Senior Editor at The New American. Until next time, God bless you all.
As a lumberjack, I've been cutting wood for decades. I see the wood, I chop the wood. My axe goes through every time. You remember when everyone bought all the toilet paper? And they wanted me to wear these things? And someone invested a lot of money into this stuff. They say I'm part of a global plan. I don't think so. It's too hot, it's too cold. You know what? The weather changes. We even hear crazy ideas on how kids should learn.
Here's the news, Dad.
Is it, son? Is it?
What about this one, Dad?
Nope. It's hard to tell what's real and what's fake these days. At The New American, they cut through the baloney and give me the truth.
Right now, you can visit thenewamerican.com